The Patriots are open for business, and that's what their GM said. And you can see how the Broncos could quickly try and make a move to trade up for the third overall pick in the draft. So we're going to unpack everything surrounding the latest NFL draft rumors with the third overall pick evidently up for grabs-ish. I'll give you my take on it and whatnot, and then we'll talk about maybe a trade with the Giants, who are also taking phone calls. But Ian Rappaport tweeted out this morning that Patriots de facto GM Elliott Wolf told reporters today he's open to trade out of number 3. We're open in the first round or any round. If the answer is picking one of the top 4 QBs at number 3, quote, I think we'd be comfortable with it. In English, let the bidding begin. I don't think Elliott Wolf is trying to say that they are going to trade out of pick number 3 or they want to trade out of it. But I think he does want to get some offers rolling. I do think he wants to see what people could send his way. And if he gets an offer he can't refuse, then maybe he ultimately does trade out of 3. My suspicion is Elliott Wolf is going through one of 2 things right now. One, it's his first time being in a real NFL GM, so he's probably having a little bit of fun working the phones leading up to the draft. 2, he's really only getting calls from the Minnesota Vikings. And if he doesn't get competing offers, he can't get a little bit more out of the Vikings, which is why he went in front of the media and said, we're open for pick number 3. And other teams can really start picking up the phone and calling the Patriots going, well, now that you're picked for sale a little bit, can we make an offer? And then Elliott Wolf can take those offers and bring them back to the Vikings, who look like the most serious contender to trade up for a quarterback, and say, yeah, the price just went up a little bit. I still expect the Patriots to stay put at number 3. I know Wolf has said that, just said that they are open to trading it, but that's all it is. Open, right? The house is not for sale. I don't even think it's an open house just yet, but they are definitely fielding offers. They are picking up the phone, and Elliott Wolf is doing what a lot of teams and agents and GMs do during this week leading up to the draft. They are trying to put a combination of smoke screens out there, make people think one thing while they do something else, or they are simply trying to see what offers they can get and make the best decision possible. Now, for Denver, if they're looking to jump up from 12 to 3, I think we know exactly what it would cost. The 49ers did the exact trade with the Miami Dolphins back in 2021, and it cost San Francisco 2 future firsts and a third-round pick in addition to a pick swap. I hate saying 3 first-rounders because, they got the third overall pick and they swapped the 12th for it. So it's basically just 2 future firsts and a third to jump up from 12 to 3. Now, here's my trade idea, if you will. It's very similar to what the 49ers offered, although I don't think Denver can make an identical offer. So what I'm offering, if the Broncos are looking to trade up and what it would cost to do that, is first-round pick swap this year, 2 future firsts, and a second-round pick next year. I don't think Denver will part ways with their third-round pick this year. If they do that, they are not picking in day 2 of the draft at all. They would have the third overall pick for the top 100-plus picks. I don't think the Broncos are going to do that. I think they'd rather give up a future second next year. And if you're New England, you're probably pretty content with that because it's not like the day 2 draft class this year is absolutely loaded. So not the worst idea in the world to pick up a future draft pick. Now, if you don't want to give up all those assets, I understand, and I don't either, to be honest. So this is another trade idea that I came up with. We're talking first-round pick this year, first-round pick and second-round pick next year, and Courtland Sutton. So 1 future first, 1 future second, and Courtland Sutton. I'm sure the Patriots would want a little bit more than this, but if they want to go get a veteran wide receiver to help whoever plays quarterback, whether that's Jacoby Brissett or another rookie maybe, because they could go back to 12 and then jump back up again, kind of like what the Cardinals did last year. They've got a good veteran receiver for like JJ McCarthy, if that's the move that the Patriots make. I personally would not be on board with sending 2 future first-round picks. I don't mind, saying F them picks every once in a while, but I don't think as a franchise you can say F them picks back-to-back trades, the Russell Wilson trade, and then this would be the Drake Maye or JJ McCarthy trade, and have no rings to show for it in between. It worked out okay for the Rams because they won a Super Bowl. I don't think the Broncos are going to be winning a Super Bowl in 2024 or 2025 with Drake Maye or JJ McCarthy. And you're going to need those first round picks in the future to help aid and develop that rookie quarterback. Like the Broncos offense, the way it's constructed right now, it's not bad. It's not like JJ or Drake would completely sink on this roster. No, but not having any first round picks the last 2 years and then the next 2 years, I don't think JJ McCarthy specifically is special enough as a quarterback to overcome the hurdles that would come with that tough hand being dealt to you. Drake Maye, we'll talk about in a moment. But I also lean back on history, and we have shown this before, but it's just a good reminder for those of you that are kind of tuning in for the first time leading up to the draft. It sounds super fun in the moment to trade up for a quarterback, but I don't know what to say other than history says it doesn't work. Like, it's very early on Bryce Young to the Panthers, so I won't say that's a bad trade yet, but we're getting very, very close to it. Bust for Trey Lance. Jared Goff is kind of a tough one. I'm not really sure if the Rams would do it all over again if they had the chance to. He got them to a Super Bowl, but they were very quick to realize he can't win them a Super Bowl. So that one I kind of wrestle with. This was a bust. RG3, unfortunately, because of injuries, didn't work out, but it just goes to show that it doesn't work out as often as you may think it might. Now, Drake Maye, he may be the exception. I do think he is that special of a prospect. And you know how I said I don't think JJ McCarthy could overcome the hurdles of being the only first-round pick in a 5-year span for the team? I think Drake Maye may be able to overcome that because I do think he is that gifted as a passer. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. But first, I do want to tell everyone watching about our sponsor today, which is Prize Picks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Now, let me catch you up to speed on how Prize Picks works. All you've got to do is pick 2 to 6 players and choose more or less on their projected stats. Now, for the upcoming NFL season, these are the stat projections I already have locked in. I took the more on Kirk Cousins' passing yards. He's gotten to 4,000 yards a handful of times recently. I think he can do it again in Atlanta. I like the less on Jalen Hurts, 3,600 plus passing yards. And the main reason is because I think Saquon Barkley is going to get the rock a ton. They didn't pay Barkley all that money for him to just stand on the sideline. So I like the more on Barkley and I like the less on Jalen Hurts. So whether it's these stat projections or any other ones Prize Picks has, because they have a lot, make sure to have some fun and download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. Terms apply, but again, for the first-time users, download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get a deposit match up to 100 bones. Pick more, pick less at Prize Picks. It's that easy. I put all the information you need in the comments and description of today's video. Now, the recent smoke coming out of DC is that the Commanders are eyeing Jaden Daniels with pick number 2. Doesn't mean it's a guaranteed thing. I remember in 2021, everyone said the 49ers traded up for Mac Jones, and then I'm somewhat inclined to believe that Kyle Shanahan was like peer pressured out of that pick, and they went with Trey Lance instead. But maybe Drake Maye does fall past the Commanders. And I wouldn't say that would shock me, but I would think it's the wrong idea. And maybe if that happens, Sean Payton aggressively picks up the phone and just gives the Patriots an offer they can't refuse. And Elliott Wolf at least seems to be willing to listen to offers. Now, some background on Drake Maye as a prospect. 6'4", 223 pounds. So from a physicality stand-up and a makeup standpoint, he checks the box. He's very athletic. He's actually a much better rusher than you may expect him to be. Now, he's got some recklessness to his game. He, every once in a while, will just, become a Madden player where he just, slam on all the buttons and he just does something crazy. And that needs to be coached out of him. But he does have great accuracy. He can make every throw you look for in a quarterback. He's got above-average arm talent. Like, if you're making a my player quarterback, he's not going to be 100 across the board, but he's kind of like 85 to 90 across the board. He just needs some fine-tuning on the mistakes he makes and the reckless plays he tends to find himself in. Those need to be curbed down. But Josh Allen has that same trait, and I think it works out pretty well for Buffalo. Now, I like Drake Maye. If it can get done, that would be, I think, worth it almost to trade up and get, because I do think he's that different, that special, and that much of a difference maker. But I just go back to, this is fun and all, but I still think the Patriots are staying put at number 3. Now, if it's not New England at 3, what about the Giants at pick number 6? So Ari Miroff tweeted out that Giants GM Joe Shane said he has been surprised by the number of calls he has received from teams behind them interested in trading for the number 6 overall pick. And for me, if we're talking about moving up to number 6 with the Giants, it's only for one quarterback. It would be JJ McCarthy, who a lot of people expect to go in the top 5 via the Minnesota Vikings with a trade with the Cardinals at pick number 4. But that's all just smoke right now. There was smoke last year that Will Levis would go top 10. Dude didn't go round 1. There was smoke the year before that Malik Willis would go round 1. Dude didn't go round 1 or round 2. Every year there is smoke around quarterbacks. The media builds up smoke and intrigue around quarterbacks because quarterbacks lead. They get clicks. They generate interest more than the left and right tackles do. So the question becomes, is the JJ McCarthy smoke just smoke? Or is there an actual fire around him going top 5, top 6? And could Denver make a move up if, let's say, it's the Vikings making a swap with the Patriots at 3, the Cardinals stay put at 4 and go Marvin Harrison, the Chargers stay put at 5 and go Joe Alt or Malik Neighbors, and then there's the Giants at 6, who definitely need some work on their roster, but maybe they feel like acquiring more picks via trade with Denver and going back to 12 is in their best interest. We've talked about JJ McCarthy before on the channel, and I know we're kind of in this spot of the longtime viewers of the channel, like, PD, can we talk about something else a little bit? It's been nauseating to talk about the same subject over and over again, but we also are in that week leading up to the draft where there are a lot of people kind of just tuning in for the first time, trying to catch up on everything they need to know. So here is the Spark Notes on JJ McCarthy. 6'2", 219 pounds. So good size altogether. He's an elite processor. That is like the number one thing that comes up when you ask scouts about JJ McCarthy. What he does in between the ears may not be replicated by any other quarterback in this draft. He ran a pro-style offense at Michigan, which means he wasn't just looking to the sideline and there's like emojis and NBA logos on a big, like what looks like a board that you would make before a science project in middle school. He was running an actual offense where a play call came in, and often I think fans kind of overlook that element of being a quarterback. Go listen to how long some NFL play calls are. It's a novel. It is not very short. So for McCarthy, in a processing standpoint, he reads defense as well. He knows how to communicate. He knows how to run an offense. And coaches really value that. They don't want to baby a rookie quarterback. They want a guy to step in and be where veteran quarterbacks are, in between the ears. Now, he's an above-average athlete. He doesn't have much of an issue making big passes down the field, but we don't have a big body of evidence. At Michigan, he was not asked to throw the ball a lot, especially in key games. The dude threw 18 passes in the national championship game. He had a great defense and a great run game to lean on. That's not always going to be true in the NFL. If a team is picking a quarterback top 5, top 6, it is because they believe that quarterback can go out and win them a playoff game, throwing 30 passes and completing 22, 23 of them, if not more. For McCarthy, we just don't really know if he can do that because we haven't seen it. And I don't blame Michigan for not asking McCarthy to throw the ball more. Their offense worked to a T. They won them a national championship. They're not there to boost JJ McCarthy's draft stock. They are there to win football games. So I think this is the ultimate boomer bust. Maybe he can make all these throws. We haven't seen him really do it a lot. But who's to say he can't? Like Justin Herbert at Oregon, he wasn't asked to push the ball downfield very much. He gets to the NFL, and the Chargers discover this guy's got a howitzer of an arm, and it was just collecting cobwebs in Eugene. We'll dust it off for you. And maybe a team's going to discover that with JJ McCarthy. Or maybe they're going to discover, ooh, you were a number one, top quarterback in this draft class, and Michigan didn't ask you to throw the ball for a reason. And it wasn't just because of their great ground game. It was they didn't really have the trust that you could make the downfield passes. So for that reason, I don't think it's worth spending a top 6 or maybe even a first-round pick on JJ McCarthy. I just think it's too big of a gamble. Now, if you had to pick a quarterback, who would you pick? Drake Maye or JJ McCarthy? I'm taking Drake Maye every single day that ends in the letter Y, but let me know if you disagree with JJ McCarthy. Now, before we get on out of here, we had a comment on our video yesterday that I thought was a very insightful comment, if you will. It came from a viewer named Scott Fry. Scott, what's going on? Scott said yesterday, but Petey, there is no surefire pick. Every one of them is a gamble. Look at how many top 10 busts there have been at all positions. Well, this is my job, so Scott, let's look at that. I mean, Scott's referencing the list of 5 players I put out on yesterday's videos, my guys, meaning I've got confidence in all 5 of these players that could be there at pick number 12. Like, I'm not going to toss in Caleb Williams and Malik Neighbors. I don't think they'll be there at 12. But I think all 5 of these players have a real shot of being available at pick number 12. And I think all 5 of these players are going to have successful NFL careers. But Scott does raise a good point that there is no surefire thing. And I may be confident in Terrion Arnold or Brock Bowers, but doesn't mean it's absolutely going to pan out. So, Scott, what I did was I looked back at the top 10 picks, as you pointed out, from 2015 to 2020. So 6 years of drafts, 60 picks altogether, which I think is a good-ish sample size. And I couldn't really figure out a perfect metric to deem whether a guy's a bust or not. Initially, I wanted to do if they either got their 5th-year option picked up or made a Pro Bowl, they're not a bust. But Sam Darnold had his 5th-year option picked up, and I think we can say Sam Darnold's a bit of a bust. So I just went with the eye test. So you may not 100% agree with my numbers, but it was kind of the simplest way to do this, and I still think it gets the point across here. So looking at the top 10 picks in this 6-year span, we had 15 quarterbacks go. 6 were busts. So about 40%, which means we're looking at a 60% success rate. Running backs, 1 out of 5. The only one was Leonard Fournette. I think that's a bust. Would we all agree? Wide receivers. It's kind of interesting in this time span, only 5 receivers went top 10. And in the last 3 years, I think 6 have gone. So it really shows a different value of the position recently. But 2 out of 5 of those were busts. Corey Davis was one, and I can't remember the other one at the moment. Offensive line, really low, 1 out of 8. It was a Giants tackle they took. Eric Flowers, I believe, was the bust. Everyone else, I would say, was not a bust pick. Tight end, 0 for 1. TJ Hawkinson fell in this area, and I don't think he's a bust. Defensive line, this included defensive tackles and defensive ends, and only 25%, 3 out of 12 were busts. Linebackers, 4 out of 8. Linebackers a little bit tougher because not every one of these guys was the same type of linebacker. Like Roquan Smith and Isaiah Simmons are in the same bucket here, but they're not the same type of player. Wouldn't you agree? So for now, it's 4 out of 8. Cornerbacks, 3 out of 5. That one surprised me. I will admit. Jeff Okudah I included as a bust in this range. I can't remember who the other 2 were, but I put that down. And then this one's a little bit contentious. I did not put Jamal Adams down as a bust. I don't think he's a bust. I think, unfortunately, injuries kind of ruined his career in Seattle, but I don't think his first few years with the Jets and even his first year or 2 in Seattle looked like anyone that would call a bust. So, Scott, I hope that kind of puts a little bit more color to the picture you outlined there. That sure, there are busts in the top 10, but quarterback went more than any other position group by a good chunk, right? 15 guys and 60% success rate. That's not a very good success rate for going top 10 compared to other rooms in this area. All right, do you want to trade up for a quarterback, though? Let's kind of end the video with this question here. Give me a yes or a no down below in the comment section. I really appreciate everyone for tuning into this edition of the Broncos Breakdown. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll keep you guys apprised with more draft rumors coming out over the next few days.